we're going to practice a few techniques using the Proxy Manager. Based on the big difference we talked about whether you're just going to send simple HTTP requests or you're going to run a whole browser and emulate, run a headless Chrome and open the whole web page. So, to start off with a simple HTTP request, it's like I said earlier, it's very easy. There's a lot less surface, there's a lot less fingerprints that the website sees. And we just need to get the HTTP part right. Here there's an option to use unblocker, which works very well out of the box. But if you want to do it yourself, LPM provides a lot of rich features to optimize their request. So we already saw retrying failed requests. A lot of times you'll get a small failure rate, let's say even 25% of the requests fail. And it's not too hard to get better data by just retrying. If let's say 10% of requests fail, with one retry you'll usually get to about 99% success. Because another 10% of those 10% that narrows it down to just 1%. So retrying is very powerful, but we're going to try retrying with an even more advanced type of retry, which is changing the type of IP on the retry. So we call this waterfall technique. We're going to start off with the cheap IPs, say the shared data center IPs. And if that doesn't work, we're going to try out more expensive and stronger IPs for collecting data. So we have like shared IPs, they're very cheap. If you pay a bit more, you can get exclusive IPs, or IPs that are either IPs that only you use, completely exclusive, or IPs that you're the only one that's going to be using them for a specific domain. And if that doesn't work, we can try to go on to residential IPs, which look better. A data center IP, you can look it up and see that it's hosted in a data center. So residential IPs look better, they get blocked less. Usually blocking nowadays is done with a weighted algorithm, so we're talking about different machine learning techniques, and that means that no specific factor is going to get you outright blocked. Like you can open up a website with a data center IP, but it's all factors and they all have a weight. So if your headers are not perfect, you might not be able to scrape unless you use residential IPs. Improve your headers, you might be able to get away with data center IPs. It's all a matter of factors and weights about how good each factor of your request is. So if the data center doesn't work, we'll move on to residential. In some cases, we can even get better results by choosing the specific city we're going to look for. For example, if the data is related to a specific city, so let's say you're searching for hotels in Paris, you could get results by searching for hotels for Paris from any place in the world, but you'll probably get identified as a lot less if you're searching from inside Paris. So we do have an option, it's a little bit more expensive to choose IPs, residential IPs, from a specific city. Or for other use cases, let's say you're searching very specific information that's targeted to a specific mobile network. We can choose different ASN numbers, so very, very specific networks of IPs. Or mobile IPs, which are getting more expensive, but let's just focus on the main one, data center and residential. So we're going to try out setting up in the LPM, we're going to open up 2 ports. One is going to use data center IPs, one is going to use residential IPs. And we're actually going to send our traffic only to the data center port, but we're going to change the rules, so instead of retrying the request, it will send it on and retry it with the residential IPs. So let's go back to the start, look at the ports. Okay, we have 2 ports. The first one, 24000, we click on the port, we choose at the top left, we choose the zone. The zone is the setup on our server of which IPs will be used. So we're going to use this zone, it's called DC shared. If you hover over it, you see the type of IPs. We're going to choose targeting, any other settings that we want. But the important part is in the rules, we're going to set a retry rule. So if the status code, in this case, let's set it up to 502. So if we get a 502 status code, we're going to retry with a different IP. And the action, not with a different IP, with a different port. So we're going to use port 24001. Before you test, let's go set up the other port. So we have port 24001. You can create a new port. There's a little button. Sorry, go back to the port page. Add a new proxy. You create a new proxy. So now we have port 2001. We choose the zone, which is going to be a residential zone. Yeah. And here we don't have to set up rules. Just make sure we don't have any rules set up or anything. We can, of course, have different rules. Like let's say if it failed the second time with residential, then we can retry, or we can send it off to mobile, or we can do all kinds of different things. Okay, so now we have everything set up. That's the waterfall, and we can go back and send a request to this port. If it's a successful request, it will just use data center. If it's not successful, it will waterfall down to residential. So yeah, we're going to force it to be 502. This technique is very, very powerful for websites or URLs where you get a pretty good success rate, but not good enough. So if you get us like a 75% success rate, it's still cheaper to do all the requests with data center and only retry 25% with residential. So it's about cost optimization. If you're getting like a 2% success rate, then it's not worth your time. Just make it with residential to begin with. Okay, so we made the request. Let's look at the rules. So we see the rule was activated. And in the timing, we can see the two requests going through. The residential is probably a lot slower. Residential IPs, aside from relying on home internet connections, they also have asymmetrical internet connections. So the upload speed is usually pretty slow, which means the whole connection is a lot slower than data center IPs. Data center IPs should be just a little bit slower than your regular internet connection. But they do work a lot better. So what you do is you just run as many as you want in parallel, and you get the job done. Okay, so let's take a few minutes. If anyone has any questions about this or the previous technical part, you're welcome to ask. Anyway, just to test it out, we're going to run a real browser and just operate it manually. And that browser is going to be sending the traffic through LPM. So obviously this adds a proxy. It means the request will be sent through whatever country or region we choose. But it also means LPM can intercept all the traffic and do stuff. So we have two things we want to do. One is manage sessions, which is a little bit more complicated. We want to make sure every browser we run uses a different IP, because we don't want to all use the same IP and get the IP blocked. But we also, every browser, every page we open is going to send a lot of sub-requests. The initial HTML page is going to load images, JavaScript, CSS files, asynchronous requests, and all of this is we want to go through the same IP. So to do that, we're going to go back to our LPM. Instead of rotating IP, which changes IP on every request, we're going to change it to a long single session. So here we have a default preset that chooses long single session, but go to IP control and we can see the exact settings. This is going to change the pool size to 1. You can do all this if you choose custom and you have full control over the settings too. So now if we open a browser, we can just refresh the page a few times and we'll see, let's make it bigger, we'll see the IP just stays the same. So that's what we want. And this means that when the browser loads a lot of resources, they'll all use the same IP. To change the IP, we're going to use an API request. At the bottom left corner of the LPM, you have to make it smaller. Yeah, there's a link to the API. This is an API to LPM. So you can control different things about the LPM proxy using an API. This is just slow. So we're going to have an API called refresh sessions. We're going to basically send a request to LPM and tell it change the IP on this port. Okay, I'll scroll all the way to the bottom, refresh sessions. We actually have it available, at the top of the screen now. We have it available both as a GET and a POST request because some people wanted to navigate the browser and make the browser call this API. So let's choose one, fill in the port number. In this case, 24000. And we can try it out. This will send a test request. You can copy it to curl. So you see this is just going to the LPM on the same port as the UI, /API/refresh sessions, and then port number. And it ran, it worked. Let's refresh the page. So once we call this, we should get a new IP on the next refresh. Which port is this? Again, let's close it, make sure we're using the right port. Make a few requests to see the IP doesn't change. Make it bigger though. Okay, so now let's call the API. And let's refresh again. Okay, now refresh again. So the first refresh changed the IP, the second refresh keeps the same IP. So this way we have manual control over when the IP changes. In our code, we're going to open a website, say you do Puppeteer, you create a browser, you create a page, you go to the page, you load the whole page. Once the page is done, you close that tab or the whole browser and change the session, and then start again. Okay, so this is something we can test out. You can do the same thing, use test myIP.json to see the IP, see that you can control when the IP changes. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a rule. Because all the browser traffic is going through the proxy, we can actually filter out some requests. We can save bandwidth. So in the rules, we're going to filter out image files. This is very easy to do when you have an intercepted proxy. Requests that we filter out like this, choose URL, we're going to build a regular expression based on these files. And then we're going to choose the trigger, action null response. So null response means LPM will just cut off the request and return nothing. This means that the requests won't even reach Luminati servers. They won't be charged for, because our servers don't even know that these requests existed. They definitely won't reach the target website. And most websites perform just fine without images. Most bot detection stuff doesn't check if you open the images. Usually they're hosted on a CDN that's even a completely different server. So it doesn't hurt anything. It might make the page load a little bit faster. It'll definitely save bandwidth. So let's open up a browser and see what it looks like. We're going to open up some web page that has some images in it. Say Instagram. We're actually going to an interesting page on Instagram. Oh, sorry, open it up on the regular browser too, so we can see what it should look like.
Just load.
You can open it meanwhile on the regular one too.
So I opened the room.
Okay, reload. Okay, so this is using a proxy, but not the proxy that we set the image filter on. The one that's open right now should load without images. You can see they have a big image on the front page. It doesn't really do anything. And this time the images are not available. The content is exactly the same. The page works the same. So this is just data that you don't need when you're just trying to collect data online, in a lot of cases. Okay, so that's the difference. Just a remark, a lot of clients, it's a lot easier to do this on LPM than, say, inside Puppeteer. It's easy because you already have LPM for the proxy and you just set up a rule. But also, some clients, like Puppeteer, change certain things about their requests when you don't load the images. They might change the cache control settings, they might start the request and then cut them off. Basically, it creates weird behavior. So it's a lot cleaner to do it on the proxy outside the browser than make everything perfect inside the browser. Okay, so again, if anyone has any questions, now's a good time. Yeah?
Can you remind the page where you have the list of APIs? The Luminati page?
Yeah, okay, so let's go back to the Swagger page. The link is at the bottom left corner of LPM, and it opens up this Swagger API description. Most things in LPM can be controlled by API too, creating ports, changing ports, refreshing IPs. Yeah, so the bottom left corner of LPM is a link to the API.